The Lokar Car Show series hits the West Coast as we attend the annual Original Parts Group Open House. Specializing in parts for GMA bodies, today their parking lot is open to all of General Motors' midsize muscle and more. Perfect Southern California weather greeted show participants as they streamed into the OPGI's corporate headquarters.
First Cadillac I bought was in 1964, and then I ran across this baby about 4 years ago. It had been sitting for, 20 years. It's a 1938 Cadillac LaSalle. Put some bucks in it and got it up and running, and what you see today. Pretty much all original in the interior. You know, the wiring was the main problem. It had rotted away. I had a fire in the dash when I first got it. Had to have it completely rewired. That's the other thing I did to it. It was a 6-volt and I changed it into a 12. I'm not sure about the paint. I left the patina on it, something that I like, and had some chrome done on it. But other than that, it's pretty stock. It's a difficult car to find original parts for, but I did run across some people in the Boston area that were into LaSalles. They pretty much had what I needed. I had to pay through the nose through it, but that's the way it goes when you own an old car. Got a V8 flathead in it, and it runs like a champ. One of the strongest engines out there, I think. People that are really into car shows have a tendency to lean towards the patinas, but the average person coming off the street normally will give it a look and walk by. They're looking more for something like the Cadillac next to me. It's clean, sharp, lays out. You know what? I'm probably going to start working on my 64 a little more. This is to a point where I'm happy with it. I think if I did do anything, it may be a paint job. Every now and then I'll drive it around and, people give me the thumbs up and I park it, take another one out.
Of course, nothing says classic Caddy more than 50s fins.
It's a 1956 Cadillac, Series 62. I've had it about 10 years. The car was pretty complete. I only had to chase down a few parts of chrome and stainless. And there's the Cadillac King out in Llano, has 20 acres of Cadillacs. I got to walk through there for a couple hours while the guys were picking my parts. It's like paradise for me. I've had it about 10 years, but didn't start working on it until about 5 years ago. Then took it out to South End Custom and let Keith Dean do his work on it. He did the body work, chopped the top, made new skirts for it, shaved the door handles, the hood, the trunk, put poppers in the doors. It was painted out in Riverside. It's a light green frost effect. It's not a factory Cadillac color, but I wanted something a little different, and I think I found it. The interior is stock still, but I'm saving up for that. It'll be a fabric interior mimicking the stock. The outside looks good, but it's far from good on the inside. I'm gonna do little exhaust work on it. The 429 is pretty torquey, so I broke a couple of motor mounts showing off with that. So I'm gonna have some new motor mounts made and maybe a set of headers, go with some different exhaust on it. Run it out the tips through the back bumper where the factory exhaust ports. Maybe eventually some wire wheels or something like that, lose the hubcaps. As I can afford to do things, it gets done.
By the mid-60s, performance overtook style and the muscle car was born.
It's a 1970 Chevelle SS 454, blown with a little over 800 horsepower. Finished it back in July 18th of 2004. Looked for a car with a straight body for about 10 years until I actually found this car. It didn't have any rust or anything on it, so I was really fortunate on that. And then I framed off this entire thing, and we put a different motor, of course. Now it's a big blown motor, roller motor, turbo 400 trans, and I replaced every single thing on this, every nut and bolt, all the suspension, all the brakes, all the interior, all the glass, all the hardware. Every nut and bolt on this car is basically brand new. And most of the parts I got from OPG. I was working for a construction company, and we had a job that was down the street from them for about 2 years. So every day at lunch, I would drive over there Monday through Friday. I would order all the parts, go back on Saturday, pick up all my parts, and Saturday and Sunday I would work on the car putting all those parts together. And I did that throughout the inside, throughout the trunk, throughout underneath, the suspension. Spent a lot of time putting this thing together, but proud of every moment of it. If a lot of people are like I am, before I built mine, I would go down the rows of car shows and I'd just look to see if I saw a blower. If I didn't see a blower, I wouldn't even go down that row because I was really interested in having a blown motor car. And you just get a lot of people, oh wow, look at that, there's so much motor for that car, I can't believe it. It's impressive. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, you know what I mean? I only have about 1,700 miles on it, 10 years, but I have 12 cars. I've got what I want, a little arsenal of cars, and I'm just keeping them that way. I mean, you got to get to a point where you got to be happy with yourself and your life and everything you're doing. I've got the cars I want. I mean, of course, there's always going to be something else, but you know what? You can't have everything unless you're super rich and have a lot of space. That doesn't happen too often.
This edition of the Lokar Car Show series is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. Original Parts Group, the world's largest source for GMA body parts and accessories. Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radios since 1977. And by Lokar, quality plain and simple. Welcome back to the Lokar Car Show series with some cousins of the Chevy Chevelle.
The car is a 1969 Chevy El Camino. It's been in the family since '69. My grandfather owned it, and then my uncle owned it. And I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with that piece of junk over there? He says, why? And I said, because I want it. So he reached into his pocket and he tossed me the keys. He says, okay, well, take it. He did landscaping as a business. So, of course, when I got it, it was all beat up. First of all, I did the motor all up and stuff. It has a 5.7 liter out of a Camaro, and it's got the 400 R4 transmission. And then I went to Don's Auto Body in Fullerton, and then a guy named Chef out of Van Nuys did the paint out of his backyard. He said it would take him 3 months to do it. He did it in 3 weeks. That's including it, taking it down to metal, primering it, blocking it, and painting it. Danny A. out of Monrovia, California, he did the pinstriping. He's barely been striping for about, I don't know, 20, 30 years. I mean, I like attention, but not that much. I wanted to be kind of subtle with the paint, and then the pinstriping, I didn't want it all gaudy and stuff, so that's how we did it. The tonneau cover, I seen leaning against a tree, and the guy had a sign on there that said free. So if it's free, it's me. I've always wanted a tonneau cover for it, but I didn't want to get one because the tonneau cover is a chrome molding, and I didn't want to do that. So what I did was I picked up my daughter, Brianna. Come on, we're going to go do something. And she didn't know what was going on. We didn't realize how heavy the cover was either. So we ended up getting it, putting it in the Tundra, and I made a stencil out of cardboard, and I cut out to make it fit the inside of the El Camino. I'm going to do the hinges and put the shocks in there and have it all nice. And I'm probably going to do the interior one more time. Probably leather and suede. I hadn't started working on the El Camino, and my uncle had called me. He says, you know, they only gave me 4 months to live. So I said, well, you know what, I better start on this car. And needless to say, he ended up living another 4 years, but he got to see the car, and he's seen it all done and stuff. And he took him for a cruise in it with me, and he was on the passenger side. He says, you know what, I want my car back.
Then there's the SS or Super Sport version.
I've had it for 1 year. It's a 1970 SS El Camino. I bought it from Atlanta, Georgia. It's got an LS1 in it, pretty powerful motor. It's got all the amenities. It's got power seats, both sides, passenger and driver, power windows, air conditioning, things that probably most 1970 El Caminos don't have. It's got a 704R transmission in it, so it's pretty quick out of the blocks. I like the car. Beautiful car. In my younger years, I had a 71 El Camino SS 454. My wife finally gave me a green light to get what I wanted. I wanted a 70. So I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked. There wasn't anything out there except this one. It's unfortunate that it was so far away, but I settled on this one. I have done a lot of work to it since I've owned it. You know, I needed ball joints and rear springs and small stuff like that. Basically, I just like that style of car. I just like car truck situation, you know what I mean? And I wanted something that kind of stood out. You know, it's fun. It's my medicine. I take it out when I'm feeling low. I take it out maybe once or twice a week, maybe to go to get a burger somewhere, you know. Feeling low, all I gotta do is get in the car and go around the block in it, and it makes me feel better.
The El Camino even outlasted its Chevelle cousin.
This is a 79 El Camino. I've had it about 20, 25 years. My buddy gave me this truck. It came from San Diego. His nephew had it down there, and we had to go down there and get his stuff. And when we got it, it was in his driveway. And I asked him, I said, man, what are you gonna do with this truck? He said, man, you want it? I said, yeah. give me the keys, say get it out the driveway. It's been in my garage ever since. After I retired from work, I said, let me take it out and fix it up, so I redid everything over. It was blue. It had all the molding on it and everything, but it was just a faded out blue. Top of it was falling off. The interior needed to be done. Engine needed to be redid over and everything. The suspension, I did all that, you know. It was in bad shape. I've been low riding a long time, man. I'll be 62 next month. So I already knew what I wanted to do. I just put it in the garage and just said, when my funds get right, then I'll start doing what I needed to do. The paint job was when I used to low ride back in '72. My buddy had this same color on a '57 Chevy. Rest his soul, he's dead now, but he gave me the color before he passed. I had him to do the interior original. I don't want to change nothing but the color that was on it because it was the blue. Here, my buddy today, he's on his way up here too. He wanted to come and say this is the first car show I put it in. Name of our car group is All-Star Riders. You can have a clean Volkswagen. If it's clean enough to ride with us, you can get in the All-Star Riders. We got about 5 of us now that's in here. 2 El Caminos, 64 Malibu Yellow, Riviera, you know. We're just getting started, but that's the name that we wanted to put on ourselves, so we call ourselves the All-Star Riders.
We've been in business 35 years, and in that 35 years, Original Parts Group moved 9 times. So, of course, each time we've moved, it's been to bigger and better facilities, and you know, this is a really good venue for a show like this. We have a nice parking lot, about 6.5 acres. I think we're in our 8th year now. It gets bigger every year. And of course, the event helps the Wounded Warriors with that project, and we try to give back to both the community and the charities that we can assist with. We've got sort of a manufacturer's row, and some of them come from pretty far away. Distinctive Industries, which is based in Texas, Parts Unlimited, which everybody who knows interiors is familiar with them. It's growing. It's my opportunity to just really enjoy checking out the restorations and talking with our customers, and it's really a fun day for us. We only do it once a year, and I get a lot of personal satisfaction from it.
One of the rare GMA bodies that OPGI has parts for is the Buick Riviera.
It's a 1965 Buick Riviera. It was like a luxury sport coupe, I believe, kind of like a businessman's car. No matter where I drive it, I always get a good reaction from people on the street. You know, hey, my dad used to have that car, that's a beautiful car, you know, stuff like that. I did about 90% of it, what you see now. I didn't paint it, but I did body work on it. House of Colors, candy apple red. Custom 17 by 6 inch wheel, just dropped down a little bit. Converted to disc brakes in the front. A little bit of chrome tailpipe on the back to make it look a little bit lower because the Buick Riviera needs to be low as far as the interior is concerned. This one, I believe had all the options that you could get in 1965. Power seat, power windows, power trunk. The consoles, hard to find. Hard to ship if you find one. They're not real sturdy. Needs a little bit more work using your dash pad, but other than that, it's mostly done. Engine's all stock, Buick 401 nailhead. It's not a Grand Sport, so it doesn't have the larger engine. There's still parts available. They're a little more expensive. Like, for instance, this cathedral molding here, this is a 1-year only front end on the 65. The cathedral molding is very hard to find. I was missing one when I got the car. It was about a $400 part, used. It's a driver. I drive it everywhere. Drove down to San Diego last weekend. I kind of like having a car that's not real common. When you go to a show like this is probably the higher concentration of Buick Rivieras that you're going to see. If I pull up into a local car show, I'm usually the only Buick Riviera out there, so I kind of like that.
And like Chevy's high-performance SS, Buick had its GS, or Grand Sport.
It's a 1966 Buick Riviera. It's a Grand Sport. It's the last model that had a 425 nailhead engine in it. It's all original. Motor's new, transmission's new. Runs like a dream. It was a garage toy. Did it in about a year and a half. OPGA came in handy. They started carrying parts for the Riviera, so we took advantage of that also. We found the car in Yorba Linda. It was in an orange grove with oranges on top of it. So we had to strip it all the way down to metal, seal the paint so we'd get some good color on it without it bleeding through because there was so much acid from the oranges on it. My brother painted cars for a living, so we painted it in the garage. Tore it down to the chassis, put it all back together new. I did the airbags myself, all the valving, all the switching inside. So if it blows it back, it could still drive down the highway. Shot the motor green because it was the last year they ran that turquoise green on the engines. Picked it up a little notch, went a little more turquoise than normal, but it looks good in my eyes. Interior was done by Cat. He's a friend of a friend, and he did a really good job. There's no plastic in this car. Even the headliner's not cloth anymore, it's stretched out leather. Original owner, he was a movie star's son. He was an open wheel race car driver. This car had a trailer hitch on the back of it that he used to tow his race car with. So the car's got some pretty good history too, and I tried to keep that. Driving down the street and had people hang out the window to look at it. Kind of embarrassing sometimes, but it's fun.
There's something exotic about the Riviera.
I don't know, I just always liked them when I was a kid. I was in the 10th grade when this one came out. First year of the Riviera. Came out in '63, I didn't get it till 2000. One of my neighbors had it and it was available, so I bought it. His father owned it originally, so it was a good car and they took care of it. Complete body, paint, suspension, interior. It's still running the original running gear on it. It's got 78,000 miles on it, so it still runs good. It's got the 401 cubic inch engine with a Dynaflow transmission. Last year, the Dynaflow. I don't drive it a lot. You only ever got about 10, 12 miles a gallon at the very best. It's a little pricey to drive it anywhere, but because with these Buicks and these oddball cars, you can't find parts for them if anything happens. I mean, you're out driving them on the road anywhere. You know, Chevys, you can go to a grocery store and buy parts for it. But Buicks and Pontiacs, you can't find anybody that even knows how to work on them. The paint is a two-stage 2005 Toyota Camry color. Riviera had a color like that. This car was originally a light blue, and I'm not a fan of blue anyways, but my wife picked it up. Yeah, I put a 45 record player in there, which in 1963, 4, that's what we were listening to. Didn't have even 4-track tapes yet. Rather than listen to old scratchy records, I took the turntable out and put a 6-disc CD changer inside there. They came from the factory, some of them did, with Vibrasonic, with reverb. This has got reverb in it now too, but it's a new style, about the size of a cigarette pack. The old style was a box about that long and about that high, and it had springs in it, and they put them in the trunk. These here just fit in the console. This little tiny thing, and you don't get all that distortion and noise. Everybody remembers Rivieras if you're old enough, and everybody liked them. I don't think there were too many people that didn't like them.
This edition of the Lokar Car Show series is being brought to you by Rev Wheels, a revolution. Easy Slide, bringing it to you. Snow Performance, the water methanol injection experts. And by Lokar, quality plain and simple. Welcome back to the Lokar Car Show series, coming to you from the OPGI Open House in Seal Beach, California.
The car is a 1949 Cadillac sedanette, or Club Coupe as the factory called it. Found it originally on eBay. It was a totally original car. Took the fenders and everything off the front end to rebuild. After I tore it down, I decided the Cadillac motor that was in it was too far gone and decided I'll replace it with a 350 Chevrolet crate motor. And it has a 200R overdrive late model GM transmission in it, air conditioning, rack and pinion steering, disc brakes, fairly comfortable to drive for an old car. I pretty much took everything off the car and painted it or plated it or re-engineered some of the parts on it to my taste. It's early 2000 Mitsubishi Eclipse Patriot Red. It's translucent. It's got 2 different colors of red pearl in it that makes it a maroon color in the sun. It's about $805 a gallon. It has about 2 gallons of paint and 4 gallons of clear on it. A friend of mine squirted it, and I color sanded and compounded, buffed it. Spent a lot of time shining it up. Did every panel on it about 4 times because I was afraid I'd sand through the paint and ruin it. The whole car I have 5 years of pretty much a couple hours every day. The interior is a leather interior that I had made to match the color of paint, and I ordered it from Germany. It originally comes in a BMW. Took a few months to get it. I go to a lot of car shows and see things that I like on different cars and try to put it together in my mind how I'd like them to go together in something I would build. I'm not going to do this again. That was way too much work, but never say never, but I don't plan on doing anything more.
Want to give your ride show and go quality? Check out this week's Lokar Lowdown.
This week's Lokar Lowdown, Eric Tate with us from Lokar. A lot of folks have the column shift still in their vehicle, or they want to put one in, and you guys have the linkage for that too.
That's right. So a lot of guys already want to stick with the column shift linkage they already have. So what we offer is if you've got a direct line of sight from, we'll say, a GM column or aftermarket column down to your transmission lever, we do a adjustable column shift linkage. This kit starts at 21 inches and can be shortened down. Comes with an adjustable lever so you can clock this in multiple positions to get your indicator to line up on the column as well.
And this one is going to take care of our Chevy folks, but what about the Ford guys?
We got those guys covered too. We do it for the C4, the C6, and the AOD and the 470W, and also the new GM 6LED as well.
And that covers a bunch of different transmissions here for the Ford guys. This and so many more products are available from Lokar. All you have to do, browse their products online at lokar.com. Remember, made in the USA, and you can also check out Lokar on Facebook.
And to bookend the show, here's the caddy Chuck Sondergaard admired earlier.
I bought this 57 Cadillac in 2011. It was a runner, but just barely, a lot of rust. In fact, it had the original leather upholstery, what was left of it. Every time you sat in it, half of it would come with you when you came out of the car. I kind of turned my back on my trucking business a little bit and went to work on this, and it took me and a buddy about 6 months to get it like you see it. So I've been doing car shows ever since. Complete rebuild on the motor, went through it myself. Transmission's been rebuilt. I originally had planned to make a gloss black. I've been building on it, well, for 6 months almost every day, and I really wanted to get on the road. So I just shot some flat black on it real quick, and I decided to keep it because it makes the chrome look so good, it stands out. I didn't build it to hide it. I like to drive it around and have people stare at me, and every once in a while I get, when are you gonna finish painting it? I'm not gonna. This is it.
Well, that wraps up our visit to the OPGI Open House. But be sure to join us next week when we come to you from the Shop Show in Indianapolis, Indiana.